Hi guys, and welcome back to Ask Rhyce, where I answer your questions about real estate. Today, look, I just want to answer a really popular one at the moment, which is my predictions for 2019. Lots of people out there are asking, I guess no one's got a crystal ball, and everyone wants to know, hey, look, what's going to happen next year? What's our predictions? What are we seeing? And how's it going to impact you? The first one I wanted to touch on, and look, it's probably been the biggest driving thing we've seen in terms of changes over the last 12 months, 2 years, is tighter lending. I think that's going to continue into 2019. That's probably going to be our major driving force. We're seeing with the changes with, I guess, the Royal Banking Commission and changes to, and move towards more responsible lending, let's say, which I think is a really positive thing long term. It's definitely had a big impact on what people can and can't afford, and I guess compared to what they might have been able to do a couple of years ago. The first change that we saw in terms of banking was, the intervention there from APRA a couple of years ago, which probably had the biggest impact on investors. So we definitely saw it on the ground, and a big reduction in investors and the people with the capacity to be able to borrow. It probably started there, and I think, look, it's continued on. And look, across the board, I just summarise it as a move to more responsible lending. But what it's meant is, I guess, a tightening in terms of what people can and can't afford, or what their capacity is to borrow, and in turn what they're able to purchase. So title lending, I think that's going to continue into next year. It's going to have a big impact. Probably the biggest prediction in terms of title lending that I think we'll see locally here is that I think we'll see buyers with reduced capacity. I think we'll see condensing of buyers, probably in that low to mid price brackets, and I think that competition will be pretty fierce in there because of that. I think people who may have had capacity to spend more previously won't, but they'll still have a need there to look at whether people need to upsize for more space, or they need to be in a different location, or just after something different like a new home. I think that mid price bracket range, low to mid price bracket range, I think we'll actually see a bit of a drive and some, hopefully we'll see some growth in there, driven by pressures of the fact that people's capacity is just not what it probably was 18 months, 3 years ago. So that'll be a really interesting one moving forward. The next one, probably the big elephant in the room for next year, is it's an election year. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with the election. The biggest topic of conversation is obviously around negative gearing, and if the Australian Labor Party or Labor get in, whether or not they'll come through with major changes to negative gearing, which is going to have a big impact on the property market if it were to come through. My personal prediction, regardless of if they do come into power or not, I think it'd be very tough for them to bring in major changes to negative gearing, just given the pressure that's on the property market, like just nationally. I think we've seen percentages in growth with majority of major cities head backwards for 2018. So look, I think there's a lot of pressure out there, and I think even if we had a change of government, which we may have, I'd be very surprised if we saw any changes to negative gearing. So it's probably, that's my prediction. Regardless of change, I don't think we'll see, certainly not next year, changes to negative gearing. So, but interesting to see who's right. For me too, moving forward, I think demand is still strong, and nationally we're still looking at, the country's growing. I think the southern states more so than Queensland, but Queensland still definitely gets its fair share, and growth is definitely up on the last couple of years. And I think locally here in Toowoomba, we're affordable. There's lots of things going on here. There's huge, I guess, moving forward in terms of a place to live. I think Toowoomba is fantastic, and hopefully we get a fair chunk of that growth that is coming into Queensland headed this way. We're affordable. We've got some major projects happening, which I think will just stimulate our local economy. Not just over the next 12 months, but I think over the next probably 5 to 10 years. So I think that 2019 we might see some of that start to come through as the second range crossing comes to a finish. and I guess more happening in the commercial sector, Interlink SQ, Wellcamp Airport sort of coming into its own now. I think that there's just a lot going on. It's a very positive place. It's a beautiful city to live in. So it'll be very interesting to see. My predictions are, we'll see some more growth here, which obviously will knock onto the property market. The other thing I want to talk about is probably the high density living versus more traditional, traditional homes. Over the last couple of years, look, we've seen a lot of pressure on high density living. We definitely went through a period of massive amounts of supply and not a lot of demand. The supply coming onto the market, so new stock, is definitely stabilised. So I think that's a positive thing moving forward for higher density. But in saying that, with the changes back, just touching back onto the tighter financing, with the changes to there, it's meant that those types of properties would have traditionally appealed to investors quite strongly, because they do tenant well, but with less investors than what we've had in previous years. Even with supply stabilising, there's still not great demand. Demand is definitely lower, especially compared to traditional housing. So something interesting to see. The one really big positive though that we've seen probably in the last 6 months is that our vacancy rates are right back down. So that means that our rental market is very healthy. Typically, once we get into this state, then we'll start to see growth in rental yields. So that'll be fantastic for investors that are in the market. Whilst we did see that go back a couple of years ago, so look, we may only be returning to where we were a couple of years ago, but I think really positive moving forward. Rental yields should increase, and look, it's normally, for me, I think it's normally the start of the market beginning a bit of an upswing. So that could be a positive thing, but I think that's longer term. I think that's more like a 3-year window, but it's always good to see the start of it anyway. And look, the final thing I wanted to finish on is it's not so much a prediction, it's a wish list. I love to see that at the moment, locally in Queensland, we haven't had state government incentives to buy secondhand stock for a very long time. So the only incentives really, apart from a stamp duty concession, is for new constructions. Now, with construction costs going up, obviously, I guess the building community obviously love to see new homes continue. But I think in terms of just the overall health of the market, I think it'd be fantastic to see a first home grant come back into the market with an incentive to buy secondhand stock, whether that's a unit or a house. I just think that would be a really good thing. And look, honestly, that would be on my Christmas list. I've been helping people buy and sell for a long time. And look, I think that would be a fantastic thing and just another driving force. And I think that overall, it'd be a great benefit to the market. So look, that one's probably less of a prediction. That's more of a Christmas wish list. We're nearly there. Hey Santa, hope you're listening. But guys, I hope that helps. A bit of insight into next year. I think overall it'll be a positive year. I think we'll track along, but I think it'll be pretty steady. I don't think we're sure to get some fantastic results, but I think it'll be a fairly steady year, and it'd be very interesting to see what the outcome of the election is. So anyway, guys, any questions, post them below. I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.